History is filled with numerous paranormal events. Terrifying ghosts, unexplained phenomena, or dangerous hauntings have been a part of every era in history. Of course, many of these paranormal events were based on malicious hoaxes or a series of misunderstandings. However, some paranormal events continue to maintain their mystery no matter how much time passes. The strange phenomenon known as the Enfield Poltergeist incident is one such case, where the mystery behind it remains unsolved to this day.
What makes this case even more mysterious and intriguing than other paranormal events is that dozens of different people witnessed the occurrences. Despite this, neither the witnesses nor those who later investigated the events could develop a satisfying theory about the strange happenings in an ordinary house. Therefore, the Enfield Poltergeist incident remains one of the most well-known and mysterious paranormal events in history. It has even had a significant impact on modern culture. The 2016 film The Conjuring 2 was entirely inspired by the mysterious events that took place in England. Here are the things you need to know about the Enfield Poltergeist incident, one of the most famous and enigmatic paranormal cases in history. In the north of London, the capital of England, the house at 284 Green Street appeared extremely ordinary from the outside. In this ordinary house lived a woman named Peggy Hodgson and her children Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy. However, the family's ordinary life would be completely changed in the late 1970s. Moreover, this family would become known to first all of England and then the entire world. According to claims, in August 1977, the children's beds began to move on their own. The children immediately informed their mother. However, when Peggy Hodgson entered the room, the beds were in their usual place. Naturally, Hodgson thought that her children were playing a prank on her. However, what Hodgson dismissed as a simple joke would continue the next night as well. Due to the terrifying noises, strange creaks, and moving objects, this house was no longer an ordinary place. According to the children's claims, a chair in the room was moving on its own. This was also the source of the strange sounds in the room. Peggy Hodgson placed the chair back in its place in the middle of the room to calm the children and turned off the light. It was at this moment that another strange sound was heard in the room. Hodgson turned on the light and the sound stopped. However, when the light was turned off again, the frightening sound reappeared. None of the children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, or Billy, could have played such a terrifying prank. It was at the moment Hodgson heard the terrifying noises in the room that she realized she was not the victim of an ordinary joke. However, a little later, a much more mysterious and much more frightening event occurred. As the sounds of pounding coming from within the walls filled the room that night, the chest of drawers began to move on its own. Peggy Hodgson encountered this terrifying sight for the first time, which her children had been witnessing for days. Like any rational person, she tried to put the wandering objects back in their places in the room. However, she was unsuccessful. Upon this, the family members rushed out to seek help. Neighbors, police officers, clergy members, mediums, journalists. Dozens of different people witnessed the events that took place at the house at 248 Green Street up close. Every room in the house was thoroughly searched multiple times. The garden was investigated. The areas near the house were examined. However, no strange occurrences were found anywhere. The outside was as ordinary as ever. In contrast, the inside of the house was more unusual than ever. Even the strangers in the house witnessed moving objects, floating objects, and strange sounds that suddenly appeared. In fact, a Lego piece flew on its own and hit the face of one of the journalists who were inspecting the house. Despite all these events, no one could explain the mystery behind these interesting occurrences. The extensive coverage of these paranormal events in the press led to the incident being dubbed the Enfield Poltergeist and becoming a significant agenda item worldwide. The Hodgson family decided to contact a representative from the Society for Psychical Research. As a result, Maurice Gross moved into the house at 248 Green Street to investigate the Enfield Poltergeist incident more closely. The first few days of Gross's stay in the house passed relatively calmly. However, after a few days, Gross himself witnessed the strange events in the house, and even more. Moving furniture, sounds coming from within the walls, flying children. Yes, whatever the source of the events in the house was, it was now targeting the children, especially 11-year-old Janet. Janet was the most affected by the paranormal events. At times, the curtains in the house mysteriously wrapped around the child's neck. It was as if whatever was behind the mysterious events wanted to harm Janet. As time went on, Janet's voice also completely changed. She no longer spoke like an 11-year-old girl, but began speaking with the voice of an elderly man. Following this, Janet was sent to a hospital in London. She underwent a series of psychological and physiological tests. However, the little girl had neither psychological nor physiological disorders. Moreover, during Janet's time at the hospital, the occurrences in the house significantly decreased. When the little girl Janet returned home, the strange events resumed. Additionally, Janet continued to speak with the male voice. However, this time, more information about the owner of the voice emerged, because what was speaking through Janet claimed to be a man named Bill. According to Bill's account through Janet, he was the former owner of the house where the Hodgson family now lived. He claimed to have passed away years ago on the couch in the lower floor of the house. Some researchers who decided to investigate Bill's claims realized that the story was true. Indeed, there was a man named Bill who had lived in this house years ago, and he had passed away in this house. Bill's conversations, moving furniture, and strange sounds continued for a while longer. 1,005 years after the first occurrence of the beds moving on their own in August 1977, the events suddenly ceased. Just like the mystery of how and why the strange events began, the reason and manner of their ending could not be found. After 1.5 years, both the furniture and the children in the Hodgson family's house were back in their place. Strange noises were no longer heard from the walls, and the curtains had stopped trying to harm the children. Although no one knew why, the poltergeist had left the house. Following the departure of the poltergeist, debates that would last for many years began. Some claim that the Enfield Poltergeist incident is one of the world's most mysterious paranormal cases, while others have more rational explanations. Bill's story is another element that further enhances the reality of the Enfield Poltergeist incident. The poltergeist speaking through Janet is a very real entity for many people. Furthermore, the fact that numerous different individuals witnessed the events in the house also adds to the credibility of the incident. In short, both in England and around the world, many people truly believe that something was haunting the house at 248 Green Street. However, there were also those who thought otherwise. According to many people, Janet was responsible for the events. This little girl, wanting to attract her mother's attention, had orchestrated an elaborate prank with the support of her siblings. Nevertheless, which side was right never fully came to light. The Enfield Poltergeist incident has been seen by some as an elaborate prank for years, while others view it as a terrifying ghostly case.